Observe a glob of oil paint. On its own, it is a few dollars worth of pigment and binder, a simple chemical paste. Market prices ignore the aesthetic quality of the materials. Value relies entirely on the mythology and the signature of the person holding the brush. This creates a unique economic vulnerability. If the signature is the primary driver of value, a celebrated artist who stops working leaves behind a cache of highly desired, incomplete canvases that are functionally worthless until they are finished. Director Steven Soderbergh explores this exact vulnerability in his 2025 film, The Christophers. The film forces a confrontation with a difficult question. If someone can perfectly replicate your genius, your legacy may be more fragile than you realize. Julian Sklar was once a defining 1960s pop art icon. Today, he lives in creative paralysis, decades removed from his last exhibition. Instead, he spends his remaining years barricaded inside a Fitzroy Square townhouse. Hidden in his attic are 8 abandoned portraits, the unfinished third series of a collection he calls The Christophers. Sklar's estranged children, Barnaby and Sally, view their father as an ATM. Eager for an inheritance, they plan to monetize those canvases before he dies. They recruit Laurie Butler, a formidable art restorer and former forger, to carry out the job. Laurie gains access to the house by posing as Sklar's personal assistant. While he wastes away downstairs, she sneaks into the attic, completing the master's work in his own style right above his head. This heist targets Julian Sklar's final legacy and authorship directly from his own home. Impersonating a master requires clinical precision. It is a process of forensic reverse engineering. Laurie uses scalpels and magnifiers to invisibly blend her labor into Sklar's history. While he remains stagnant in his creative block, she applies the discipline required to replicate his hand. The deception eventually cracks. Sklar discovers Laurie's purpose in his home and realizes his own children orchestrated the intrusion, shifting him from an oblivious victim to a calculating adversary. This discovery transforms the procedural heist into a high-stakes psychological siege over artistic ownership. The resulting standoff relies on the contrasting performance styles of its leads. McKellen brings grand, theatrical ego to Sklar, which crashes directly into Michaela Coel's calculated restraint. Soderbergh traps these two performers in a tight chamber piece, forcing them to duel for relevance within the claustrophobic rooms of the London townhouse. They eventually form a parasitic ecosystem. The creator generates the idea, but the forger possesses the will to execute it. Neither can succeed alone. Soderbergh uses a static, observational camera to document the friction. Without flashy editing, the audience must focus entirely on the shifting power dynamics within their dialogue. Their rivalries suggest that the forgery is a twisted, necessary form of collaboration required to resurrect the artist's career. Steven Soderbergh's own history mirrors this narrative. In his 2013 declaration, the director famously announced he was retiring from filmmaking. Disillusioned with the commercial realities of the industry, he stated his intention to leave cinema behind and become a full-time painter. Soderbergh's real-world creative anxieties are directly mirrored in Julian Sklar's withdrawal from the art world. The film serves as a self-reflexive confession regarding the intersection of pure creation and commercial demand. In The Christophers, Soderbergh uses McKellen's character as a cinematic avatar to direct a critique of his own career and legacy. That critique found immediate validation at the 2025 Toronto International Film Festival, where the movie's strong critical reception validated Soderbergh's vision. On screen, Laurie's Forgery acts as a harsh catalyst. It forces Sklar to finally reckon with his creator's mortality, instead of hiding from it. The technical work on the canvas functions as a mechanism for Sklar to reclaim his own lost identity. Ultimately, Soderbergh completely subverts the traditional heist genre by making the artist's suppressed will to create the ultimate prize. Artistic legacy is rarely protected by a signature alone. It is defined by the ongoing, messy dialogue between a creator, their challengers, and the world that consumes them.